Today, it's a kind of a broad topic. It is not comprehensive, but it's something that has come up over the last few months, and we're going to talk about the topic of entrepreneur mental health. So, while I am a mental health expert and I know a lot about how people work and blah blah blah, I do not profess to be an expert in every area. That's like a surgeon saying, "Oh, because I'm a surgeon, I know everything about every surgery everywhere." And you wouldn't hear a surgeon say that because she knows that she doesn't know everything, right? And same thing with me. I know how to work with kids and I know diagnoses. I happen to be an entrepreneur, so I have that lived experience, and I know the some general tenets of mental health. And so in this topic, I'm not a subject matter expert. However, comma, I know enough that I want to talk about it for a few minutes. And so you get to hear about it because you keep listening to this. Oh, there you go. So, entrepreneurs' mental health. So, it takes a huge risk taking person to be an entrepreneur. So, like to officially sign paperwork with a state and become incorporated, I think is the first big step. Having ideas, I think, is actually easy. Lots of people have ideas. Oh, I want to start a cupcake food truck. All right, that's great. Good for you. Oh, and I want it to be this color, and I want to have this, and I want people to feel this way, and I want to have these flavors. And yeah, go knock yourself out. That's awesome. Yay, you're great. But to literally go, okay, now I'm going to put down $350 to recognize myself with the state is a big deal, because once you do that, then you have all these obligations and stuff you have to figure out just by filing with the state. Because once you file for the state, with the state, and you get officially recognized, you can't then just walk away from it. I tried that a few times, and actually, there's still some companies I probably need to go and shut down, but that's another topic for another day. Because yeah, literally you're then on the hook. If you sell a product, then you're on the hook for making sure your franchise taxes are paid, or at least the form is filled out, because most people don't make enough to even file franchise taxes, but you still have to fill out the form. You have to have a registered agent, which is somebody who can be found on behalf of the company at any given time. And you have to decide what address you're going to use. Because do you use your personal address? Because then people can find you. Do you set up a PO box? Okay, if you set up a PO box, how do you do that? How do you do that? How are you going to pay for that? How is all the money going to flow? I mean, it just turns into all of these kind of layers upon layers upon layers. And for most entrepreneurs, that is kind of fun because it's kind of like a puzzle. You put one piece together. Oh, I incorporated. Oh, I did this. Oh, I got my EIN with the U.S. government. So now I officially exist. Oh, now I want to go get the domain name. Oh, I want to have a website. Oh, I want to do right. And you can build things. And that part of entrepreneurship is fun for most folks, but it's graduated stress, because once you kind of get through that, the initial phase is kind of the honeymoon, because that's the easy part. Um, then you have to either you sell your product or your service. And generally, most companies are either product or service. That's kind of how it works. Either they make something, or deliver some type of physical thing, or they're doing something for someone else. At McDonald's, they sell you a product. With your plumber, they sell you a service, sometimes a product, but mostly a service, right? Or the HVAC dude or whatever. And so getting those first initial customers is actually sometimes easy as well, because all of your friends want you to succeed, and it's not hard to, throw a rock somewhere and hit something. But to do that sustainably so that you can actually pay your bills, have enough income and profit coming in to do something with it, that's where it gets hard. And either you'll do it by yourself, as the dreamer entrepreneur, right? You're starting it yourself. You're sitting in all the seats. You're managing your sales and your marketing and your operations and your financials, and you're dreaming big, and also doing all the details, right? Well, that will only last for so long. And early entrepreneurs don't realize that. They're just like, ooh, I can do everything because I have the energy and I'm enthusiastic. And so they'll do it and do it and do it and do it. And somewhere between month 6 in year 5, they go, this is impossible. This is absolutely impossible. Like, there's no way I can scale this without bringing somebody else in. And that's the next big hurdle. So first big hurdle is just incorporating. Next big hurdle is, yeah, when you've been doing it 6 months to 5 years, depending on what you're doing, and you realize, holy mackerel, I cannot do this by myself. Or you're like, shit, I just want to take a day off. I just want to sleep or be tired. And by that time, the flywheel is moving, and whatever is happening is happening. You're getting, interested people, or you have to push out product, or you have to go to the next carnival or food fair, or see the next patient, even though you're super behind with everything else. And that wears on you, because every entrepreneur kind of craves, I wouldn't say validation. It's more, maybe it is validation. They crave validation. And I'd say entrepreneurs crave completion. Like, you want to be able to go, I did the right thing. But in order to make money from that, because that is the point of a business, y'all, is to make money. Because you have to, in order to keep the business going. Most times you don't get a reprieve, because you kind of want your cycle to be cycling. And so in order to do that, oftentimes you have to have multiple things going on at once, and that will stretch you thin to the point where you go, I can't do this anymore. And I'm a failure because I can't keep all the plates spinning at the same time. And so that's one. Sometimes a lot of people actually, either the company will fail, because I can't remember the statistics. It's something like, oh, in a given year, 70% of businesses fail, or something like that. I can't remember. If it's restaurant and food industry, it's even higher. But yeah, it's some ridiculously high amount. Mostly because that's when the entrepreneur is like, yeah, you know what? It's not worth it. The return I'm getting on what I'm trying to do is not, the math ain't mathing, and I'm done. And they leave, and then the repercussions of having to close down a company, wind down a company, tell people that you're not doing that anymore. All of those, there's lots of shame and guilt and doubt, and just negative emotions about all that particular realm. And so, yeah, it's tough being an entrepreneur of a company that shuts down. Now, if you happen to stay in the game, it's still hard, because then you have to start hiring people. And this is one of the things that it cracks me up, being a psychiatrist, and then also a business owner, is that's actually, managing people in a business is far harder than being a psychiatrist. It is far harder to figure out how to recruit an employee, onboard an employee, and train them, incentivize them, reprimand them, terminate them. All of those things are incredibly difficult compared to psychiatry, which to me, again, is very straightforward because I trained for it, right? And so, and the nuances, because these are human beings, so they're people just like you. And so, as an entrepreneur, you're having to find that balance of how to incentivize, to not incentivize, to teach, to train, to support, but not enable, and not rob them of their competence, right? So, that can be very difficult, and on the entrepreneur's mental health. And so the key, I think, is you have to share the load of that role with someone else, and that's where it's really helpful to have a right hand person. Call them an operations person, or whatever, co-founder, or I don't know, whatever you want to call them. But it's just someone that you can kind of divide up the load, because otherwise you'll get really burned out to the point where you're just like, yeah, I don't really care about this stuff anymore. And so, yeah, so entrepreneurial mental health improves when you have a tribe, when you have a group of people, one or more, that you feel you can process with. And so sometimes that's literally a business coaching group. Sometimes that's just a group of other business owners. Like, if you periodically, go out for coffee and just touch base and that sort of thing. I have a little bit of both. I have friends that own businesses, and I chit chat with them. I pay for another group that I'm, literally part of, where we sit and talk strategy and stuff like that, and that's helpful. The key is just don't try to go it alone. If you go it alone as an entrepreneur, kudos to you if you pull it off. That's great. Go you. But it really decreases your chances of success if you go alone. You know, I forgot what that saying is. It's something, something, something. Go far, um, far together, um, quick alone, or something like that. I can't remember, but it's the idea that, yeah, you can go fast by yourself, but you go further with other people. And so, and then of course, entrepreneurs are just people as well. So if you are having, thoughts of depression and anxiety, having trouble getting up and getting through your day, if you're, so worried about a sale that cancel meetings and your appetite goes down and you're being more irritable or having to drink more or losing sleep and all those things, then that's a sign to reach out for somebody personally, individually, because your mental health is very important. And just because you're an entrepreneur does not make you a super person. You're just a person with a good idea and willing to take risks, especially the risk of applying and being an entity of the state, or known by the state, I should say. You're not working for the state. And so, yeah, and so take care of yourself and your mental health, and then do all the other things that are all the rage right now, right? Which they sound hokey, but I mean, that's the way you feel better, which is diet, not diet. Watch what you eat, exercise, get your sleep, and surround yourself with good people. So entrepreneurial mental health is no different than any other mental health. And we hope that entrepreneurs listen to the office hour as well. So, all right, yay!